Okay, so episode 5 of the Wheel of Time has dropped and it has blown all of our minds. So I want to talk about it. I'm still on vacation. You might be able to tell that because I'm pretty sure the quality here is different. I'm recording on a laptop with a cheap mic, so you might be able to tell that this is not normal, how I normally do things. But I wanted to talk about this. I had a couple of hours between some stuff that I am going to be doing. I don't have any notes. I feel very, very underprepared. This is... But, okay, so it's going to be pretty loosey-goosey, but I do have thoughts. I have, like, series-ending thoughts. So, if you do not want to be spoiled, don't watch this video. I've read the books, and I love the Wheel of Time books. I've read them so many times, so there are going to be spoilers in this video. So, don't spoil yourself. If you don't want to know, bye, go away. But okay, before I get into the video, as I have been doing and will continue to do, I encourage you to support the WJ and SAG-AFTRA. If you can, please consider donating to the Entertainment Community Fund or the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, both of which I have links to in the description below. They're helping to support the writers and the actors and other industry professionals who are not earning an income right now because they're on strike. So, yeah, like I said, links in the description below. Let's get into this.
Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy. Let's be nerdy with Let's Be Nerdy.
I love how alien and foreign the Shan-Chan look. It's just, they don't look anything like the Westlands. The Westlands, like the area of the Randland that we've been spending time in. The Westlands, while it is a fantasy world, there are Ogier and things that we don't understand, they still look familiar to Western eyes, I suppose, like, because it looks kind of European, like it looks, that's the feel of it. Whereas this doesn't look like anything I've seen before. These haircuts, the types of clothing, those fingernails, like everything looks foreign. And I love that, like you can tell, this is distinct. They also just have this, I think I used this phrase in one of my reactions. I don't know, because it's a phrase that keeps coming to mind. It's this sort of laissez-faire, over-the-topness, which doesn't look like, it doesn't sound like those things should mesh, but they do. Like, this is how they think the world should be. And you feel it in all of this. It's so good. I thought that this scene was a wonderful way and an excellent way to show the different stratospheres, I guess, or layers of Shan-Chan nobility, Shan-Chan hierarchy. And they managed to do it in a way that I think most people were able to grasp. I'm pretty sure it's a little bit simplified. I'm sure it's going to be simplified because there's things about the way that the Shan-Chan hierarchy works that I don't understand, not because I couldn't, but because after a while I just stopped caring because I don't like the Shan-Chan. So I'm like, I don't care if they think a Sojin is higher than I don't know, like, I don't care. Like, what the speaker for truth is a Dakoval, but he can, like, still order around somebody of the blood. Like, I don't care after a bit because I just want them to die. Like, not all the Shan-Chan, but I want their culture to die. So I stopped caring about how it works. So I'm pretty sure they're going to simplify it for the show, but this showed it well. Like, it showed the purpose of the voice, and it showed that, like, having to use your voice, your actual voice is lowering your eyes, cutting off her fingernails, like, all of this. It showed the formality and the rigidness of their culture. I thought this was very well done. Okay, so I think in my last video, like my last book nerd video, and also my reaction, I talked about this resurrection of the Forsaken, and I had mixed feelings about it. Like I said, I've read these books so many times, so this is different, and it's a difference in the mechanics of the magic. It's a difference in the nature of the Forsaken. But the more I think about it, like I've thought about it over this past week, I think it's a good choice for the show. The Forsaken are scarier. Again, there are times in the books where I literally forget that the Forsaken are supposed to be scary because some of them, Bilal, are like just incompetent. I mean, okay, to be fair to Bilal, his plan would have worked it might have worked if Fail hadn't been so grabby with that hedgehog, but whatever. It's like a lot of the Forsaken, they just suck at their jobs. Like because they have their own motivations, their own goals. They're just all walking around here wanting their own individual power. They don't work together. Rand and other people just keep knocking them off the board, right? And so having them able to come back like this, it works. I don't know. I think it's a good choice for the show. I do. And this like view of the true power, I'm pretty sure that's what we're seeing here with the saw in her eyes. Like, look at that, look at that. It is so creepy. I like it. And it just reinforces her evilness. Also, it's been pointed out to me in the comments that I think only of the Forsaken, only Demon Dread is actually killed by natural means. So all the rest of them have something magical done to them when Demon Dread is killed with a sword, and I think he's beheaded, right? So, you know, it's not that much of a change, to be honest. The only thing this is going to change is what is the word everybody uses? The transmigration? I don't know, the body swapping. Like, that's what's going to change. And again, I think this is just such a smart change for the show because it's going to be very, very hard for people to follow if the actors keep changing. I was so happy when Moraine took this one with them because I was like, oh, she's going to die. Like, Lanfear's going to kill her. And then she died anyway. It was just, but like, it kind of reminded me of some scenes in the books where you see, like, Moraine taking our crew into like an inn somewhere and everything blows up and they leave and Moraine in the background as she's going like, flee, leave this town, danger is coming, and nobody listens to her. Like, well, there's one scene where I think it's in The Dragon Reborn where everybody is like, oh, what are you saying that there's dark hounds? Ha ha ha, that's hilarious. And Moraine is like, no, you have to go. It happens a couple of times where Moraine gives advice to people as she leaves, knowing that danger is coming their way, and people don't listen to her, and they suffer the consequences. I don't think anybody has their mouth sewn shut before or in the books, but you know, I don't know. I was really happy she took this woman with her, although it did not work out. And then this moment, Moraine kills this horse, and maybe I'm reading into it because I don't like the fact that she killed a horse. Like, it's sad. It's a smart decision. It like worked for about 8 seconds, but it's like, it's the thing to do. But I feel like I see regret in her eyes. Like, this is a noble woman who probably grew up with horses, really likes horses. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm hoping in her eyes it's just like, oh, I don't want to do this, but everything for a cause. She is a blue. I do like this moment of showing her casual cruelty popping this guy's head off. Lanfear in the books doesn't do as much of that, like unless she finds out you slept with her man, or like she has to go somewhere and you're here, so she like decides to just kill you. I think she does that when she's Sindane. But there are hints of her cruelty in the books, like Huron smells violence on her, so you know she obviously has done violence. And there's a scene where she's trying to distract people from asking her name, and so she causes like extreme pain in a girl's arm, so she'll drop a lantern. She could just as easily have like knocked over a glass on a table or something, but she instead chose to hurt a person because she doesn't care. She doesn't care about people. The only people that she cares about are herself and Luz Theron or Rand al'Thor. Like, that's it. She doesn't care about anybody else. So I do like seeing this, and I think this had to be done for the show. They had to show something. Again, like, this is like the casualness. She doesn't care at all. They had to show this because up until this point in the show, she hasn't done anything. Like, she rose from the dead. It looked evil, but okay. Well, she didn't actually die. We never actually, well, I don't know, maybe she was dead. A spear through the heart probably would kill you. But, yeah. So this is the moment that anybody watching would go, oh, that's a bad guy. That's a bad guy. She just popped that guy's head off. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit here because this moment here where she pops this, guy's head off, this very much feels like Lanfear to me. And then a couple of scenes later, she does this thing to this woman. And this to me felt like shades of Semirhage. Like, this is a slow, painful death that she's inflicted on this woman. She's either, like, I don't know if all of her, all of her orifices will close like this, or if it's just that she's going to slowly starve to death. Maybe she'll crawl to Tarvalin and they'll cut her mouth open and then heal her. Like, that's just gross. But this type of death, it feels more like Semirhage to me than it does Lanfear. I think I even said this in my reaction. It's a bit of a nod to the books, though. The guy had a quick, instant death, and the girl gets to live, maybe, but in horrible agony and pain and being tortured. That's definitely a theme that happens in the books a lot. Right after she pops this guy's head off and she climbs onto his horse, she goes, "A horse, is there anything slower than a horse?" And I like that. Like, that's these hints to the fact that these people, the Forsaken, come from a more advanced age. You know, the show has already revealed that. In the books, I don't think that's revealed until like book 4, I think. So yeah, it's kind of cool that she has references to this. I'm still not entirely sure why she isn't traveling, although, like, I think I know the practical reason. They haven't introduced that as a concept yet, right? So they can't. And you do have to know where you are in order to travel. Although the books did show that the Forsaken, or at least Age of Legends people had a way around that. You do a short skim to somewhere close by, and that moment of channeling gives you enough knowledge of the area that you can then travel. She would know how to do that, but I get that. They're not showing that here, right? Like, so my only guess at this point, one of two. A, she had to follow them. She knew, she didn't know exactly where they were going. Although, at a certain point when she figures out they're going to Tar-Valon, the fact that she's wrong about that, but she thinks they're going to Tar-Valon. The fact that she doesn't just travel to Tar-Valon, knowing that, that's a bit weird. So, but, okay, she had to follow them. Or that she has, given some sort of, no, not yet. I don't know. Because it just seems weird to me that she is using a form of travel here that, the horse, that would slow her down. She could skim. She could skim. Skimming would be faster. And even just skimming from one place to another would be faster. Jumping around would be faster than riding a horse. But, okay. Anyway, I don't know. The parent scenes in this episode, to me, felt better than the parent scenes in the last episode. I do think what it was just, especially in the way the wolves are introduced and he's introduced to their language, there's a lot of poetry in it and the way that Robert Jordan writes it. And you can't really do that when you're displaying things visually. And so I think what I was missing was that poetry, which is kind of impossible in this medium. So I don't know. Because at this episode, we are just in in his abilities, and it felt right. I didn't feel like I was missing anything. So yeah. This scene here, where he is specifically realizing that, Uno is still in a cage, I haven't actually watched any reactions. Well, I've watched one or two yet, but I haven't watched that many. So I don't know. I'm very curious to know if non-book readers caught the reason this was important. The reason that, Uno wasn't buried. Because it is just a dead body. And the fact that, he doesn't end up burying him at all. He goes there to bury Uno, but he doesn't do it, kind of undermines the reasoning for him actually going back to Atuan's mill here. So I'm wondering if they caught it, because in the books, the Shienaran burial rites are emphasized. Uno is ooh, nobody's ever seen these, or they're very rarely seen outside of the Borderlands, and they're given a lot of emphasis, which is important because it comes up at the end of the book with Ingtar, right? So their blessings that they give to their fallen comrades, their fallen dead, I guess, it's important. So to me, I was okay, yeah, no, he's a Shinar and he should be getting the burial rites that are important to his people. That makes sense to me. I don't know. I'm very curious to see if non-book readers go, okay, yes, you absolutely have to go bury him. Or if they go, why are you going back there? He's already dead and you didn't even do the thing that you ostensibly went there for. So obviously you didn't even think it was that important. I could not figure out who this was. When I was watching, obviously I figured it out eventually, but I don't know what it was that I couldn't figure it. The cages should have clued me into the fact that this was where Avienda was. I don't watch episode previews, just so you know. I think people knew ahead of time. I didn't know because I'm trying to let it happen to me as fresh as possible, having read the books and knowing the story. So the cages should have alerted me that, okay, Abby's here. Although I don't know if that would have helped, because maybe would have thought these were hunters. Maybe I would have thought that was that douchey hunter guy. I don't know. But I think it was partially his accent and his very well coiffed hair. Although again, that should have made me think White Cloaks. I don't know. I didn't get it. I couldn't get it for the longest time until you saw that little patch of white on him. And I was oh, okay. And yeah, he is able to spot a Two Rivers ring. I don't know how these people have such good eyes that they are just looking at people's rings and jewelry and going, oh, hey, I can see the fine work in, it happens in the books all the time. People are able to see people's Aes Sedai rings, which if their rings look like how people have been making their rings up until the show, in the show, they're huge, right? But the types of rings that people make, they're just like a snake eating its own tail. It just looks like a gold band unless you look at it closely. In the books, people are able to see that ring. And whenever I see those, the people show their examples of the rings that they've been wearing for decades, I'm yeah, nobody would be able to see that. You're in a an inn or tavern and you have that on your finger, nobody's noticing that. It looks just like a regular ring. So, I don't know, that one's a bit bigger though, so maybe, I don't know. This does help though, because Dane Bornhall does need to know that he's from the Two Rivers, and if so, seeing that, like, this works. This sets up something that we know is coming for next season, so, yeah. I just have to say it again. The Brown Library. Oh my gosh, this made me so happy. I wish there was an owl in here. That's my one complaint. But this looks so homey and cozy, and the Brown is my Aja. And if Addison is not watching this. Addison from the Everyday Negroes kept calling the Brown the Doo-Doo Aja. They're not the Doo-Doo Aja. But this looks like where I want to live. Like, if I want to be an Aes Sedai, I'm in the tower. This is where I want to be. With these people, we're reading books, we're talking, we're giggling, we're nerding out over stuff. And yeah, I really like that we're getting this story about Arthur Hawkwing. Like, she's talking about how Arthur Hawkwing forced the Aes Sedai to take the oaths because he was afraid of their power. In this episode where we are getting basically we're seeing the fruits of that. Like, we're seeing the other side of Arthur Hawkwing being afraid of the Aes Sedai, the Shan-Shan, and the brutality of what they do. We're just getting the beginnings of it. I'm assuming next episode we're going to get the full depth of that horror. But I really like these parallels. I'm wondering how much Liandrin knows. Like, does she know that the Shan-Shan are the descendants of Arthur Hawkwing? Like, because Liandrin is very, like, she's all about protecting women. That is her raison d'etre. That's what she wants to do, right? So, yeah, I'm wondering if she is realizing that she is as she's telling the story, that she is handing over these women to the descendants of this man who forced the Aes Sedai to bind themselves. Like, does she know? I like these parallels. It's cool. Suroth is being super lippy to Ishi here. Like, she's being really, really rude to one of the Forsaken. Now, I don't think the show is doing that thing that in the book happens where Ishi kind of half thinks that he's the Dark One, or at the very least, he's convinced all of the, his servants, his whatever, dark friends, that he is the Dark One. So I don't think that's happening in the show. So this is not as egregious as it would be if it was happening in the books. I think they just think he's one of the Forsaken. But she's still being really, really lippy to one of the Forsaken here. And that it does read a bit odd, but one of the things that it made me think was how arrogant the Shan-Shan are. Like, she is literally saying here, you may be one of the chosen, but you are not of the blood. Like, she is putting being of the blood as, like, higher than, like, being one of the servants of the great lord, so to speak. Like, the arrogance. Sorry, just the line that broke 1,000 book cloaks backs. The arrogance. Okay, so Aviendha, how much do you love Aviendha? She's amazing. Like, Ayula Smart, just from the pictures, like, it's weird that these two are here, because, Perrin of the original, like, when the original casting was announced, Marcus Rutherford was the only one who, like, just from looking at his picture, took over my headcanon. Like, immediately, just something about his face just read Perrin to me. She is another one. Like, even Nynaeve, like, I love Zoe Robbins. I think Zoe Robbins is a standout from this cast. She's amazing. But just looking at her picture didn't make Zoe Robbins take over my headcanon. But Ayula Smart did. The second I saw her picture, I was like, oh, like, Aviendha, I think I said this in ages, like, it's just coming off of her in waves. Like, I can see Aviendha in her face. So, seeing her actually moving and talking and being Aviendha for me was just very exciting, because immediately she took over my headcanon for what Aviendha looks like. So, not that I had, like, that's the thing. I don't visualize. So basically, when I say took over my headcanon, it was just suddenly Aviendha had a face. Is what happened. So, yeah. I do love this introduction. I know, there are people, like even some of my dear friends, who are missing Gaul. I do have a suspicion that we will get Gaul later, because this, like, Aviendha is a more important character than Gaul. Like, love Gaul as I do, jumping king. Like, he's an amazing dude. I love him. He is not, the phrase I keep using, he is not load bearing. He doesn't do anything in the story that can't be done by somebody else. Right? So, his character is not essential. Whereas Aviendha needs to be in the story. Like, without Aviendha, there are things in the story that don't happen. So, introducing a more significant character earlier makes sense. But, given that we know that next season is going to be book 4, Aviendha has to go to the Waste. Aviendha has to go back to the Threefold Land with Rand, and she has to go through her Wise One training and everything. Perrin has to go to the Two Rivers. They are not going to be together. If we are sending any Aiel to the Two Rivers, that would be the time to introduce Gaul. So I think that Gaul will come. I don't think he'll come this season, but I can imagine him coming in early next season, like first episode, second episode, that sort of thing. Plus, this was so cool. Like she says, do you like to dance? And then I'm not showing the fight scene here, but like their fight was kind of like a dance. You see the grace and the acrobatics involved in the Aiel fighting style. We saw it last season with Rand's mommy, and we're seeing it here, and it was so good. The only criticism I have, and it's a lot of the fight scenes in this season have been dark. I don't think any of them have actually been in the daylight. And I kind of like, that's one of the things about the Blood Snow that is amazing, is how crisp and well lit it's amazingly choreographed, but you can also see everything. And part of this is, again, I'm on vacation, so I'm watching things on tiny screens, but it also is just dark. Like, it's just dark and I want to see it. So I'm hoping that not every fight scene is going to be this dark. Okay, so the World of Dreams gets a name. We get Teleran Riod, or I think Rosalind says Teleran Riod, her pronunciation. So, okay, we now know that the World of Dreams is a thing, and we actually get to see some of the World of Dreams in this. Again, I haven't watched any first-time watchers, like people who haven't read the books, reactions, but I'm curious to know if any of them make a connection between this knowledge that Lanfear can play in dreams and the fact that she has been playing in his dreams. Like that creepy dream he had where like they were in bed and he was channeling, that was her playing in his dreams. And I'm wondering if that's something that they will put together. Okay, so this is the scene that made me go, okay, I want to make a video. Even though I'm on vacation, I don't want to wait because I have a theory. All right, first of all, this is Barthanes. This is Anvir. I keep on saying Alvir, I think because of my theory. But her name is Anvir, or Anvir, Lady Anvir, I believe. Her son is Barthanes. And Barthanes, book spoilers, is a dark friend in the books. I still think he's going to be a dark friend here. I don't think that the show is going to change people's affiliations, like anyone who is a dark friend. I don't think they're going to, in the books anyway, I don't think they're going to not be dark friends in the show. I think it is much more likely that somebody in the show who isn't a dark friend in the books will be a dark friend. I think that is much more likely and more shocking for us. Having somebody who we think is light go dark is more compelling than having somebody that we think is dark be not dark. I think. I don't know. That is my suspicion. That's my theory. So I still think he is going to be a dark friend. He's just another likable dark friend who was went to the dark to try and maybe please his mother. He saw her working so hard to pull their family out from the rubble that Uncle Layman left them in. And so maybe he turned to the dark to try and get influence and power. And that's how he's managed to win the heart of Queen Galdrian. I don't know. So that is my theory about him. I still think he's a dark friend. I do not think Lady Anvir, Moraine's sister, is. But, okay, this was, somebody in the comments said this, so this has not come out of my brain fresh. I think actually even a few people in the comments said this, so I don't know. But I think she is going to play the role that Colivir plays, because, okay, Lady Anvir, her whole thing has been to restore the Damodred family name. That has been her entire, since Uncle Layman, that has been her life's purpose. You saw her that was when she stood up to Moraine. She's like, you will not undo what I have done. And here, even, Moraine is like, I hope it's a happy match. And she's saying the Damodred family name is said with pride. That's what's happy. And, she doesn't care if it's a happy match. All she cares about is restoring her family name. I think some of that might be for herself, but some of it also might be for love of her father. Because, she obviously loves her dad. She says that Barthanes is much more like her father. She thinks her dad was a good man who's probably ruined by what Uncle Layman did. So some of that might just be restoring the honor to her family name. So that is everything that she wants. And even, if Barthanes ends up dead as a result of being a dark friend, whether that is exposed or not, that would have undermined her entire life goals. But then Rand here ends up being the Dragon Reborn, and somehow under him, she tries to take control over Cairhien. That would be the ultimate restoration of the Damodred family name. Putting a Damodred back on the throne, she's done it. She has reversed everything. And then, because she does it somehow extracurricularly, I can't remember the word I'm looking for, but she does it in an incorrect way, a way that is basically traitorous to the Dragon Reborn. And the Dragon Reborn has said that anyone in that position would have to be hanged or killed or whatever. she is now under a sentence of death. But Rand cares about Moiraine, right? He does, like, that's his friend. He doesn't want to kill her sister. It's not just Coldever, weird distant relative of Moiraine that she probably doesn't care about. This is her sister who he's seen her with. He's seen her, like, that she does seem to love her sister. He doesn't want to kill her. So instead, he takes away all of her titles, which we know, again, is the only thing that she cares about. She really, really cares about restoring her family name. And then she, WoTTube, she unalives herself. And I can see that being the beginning of Rand's list of names. The woman, like, I can see it. I could see that being a sequence of events that leads to that, because he will have accidentally, in an attempt to save Moiraine's sister, have resulted in her demise. I think that basically, I think that things are not looking good for the Damodred family. That's my theory, though. What do you think? Moments like this crack me up. Here we have Barthanes saying, "Oh, that's your warder," and Rand says not. And then you see Moiraine here like, because I'm pretty sure she had been planned, like when he said that, she was just going to let him believe it. It wouldn't have worked because Anvir has already met Rand, but she had been prepared to do what Addison calls one of her truth lies, where she wasn't going to lie, but she was going to let people believe something, and then Rand undermined her, and she couldn't think quickly enough. So you see her just, this is Rand. Like, she has nothing. She has literally nothing here. I love seeing them actually get, like, the Aes Sedai, and it's mostly Moiraine that we see this with, get caught in their oaths where they literally cannot say something because they're physically bound to the oaths. It's funny to me. It just makes me laugh. Varen, okay, she comes into the study and she mentions a switch going on to her backside, which, yeah, so okay, spanking definitely still happens. I'm still very glad that Sheriam appears to do it on the shoulders, just because the spanking is it's so juvenile. It is so ridiculous. It is humiliating more than it is a punishment. I mean, I suppose humiliation is a form of punishment, so I guess, but I don't like it. I don't like it in the books, and so whatever. But the other thing about this, I noticed, I'm wondering how many people caught up on this, or picked up on this. She says, my backside remembers this centuries after the fact. So everybody's older. Like, Moiraine is older than she is in the books. I think Varen is like 100 and something. She's not centuries plural. Whereas here, she's saying centuries plural. So, I mean, it could be a figure of speech. I do think figures of speech and sarcasm are allowed in the oaths, but I do think this is also just an indication of exactly how old she is. Okay, this interaction between Varen and Sheriam. I'm sure I'm not the only book reader here who's just eating this up. This is delicious because, okay, book spoilers, go away if you don't want book spoilers. This is a dark friend meeting, except I don't think either of them know it. Like, I really don't think Sheriam knows it. Varen might, or in this particular moment is trying to figure it out, because that is what Varen is doing. She is gathering information and trying to put this together. I really, really liked this. I also think this was incredibly cleverly done, because I'm pretty sure, again, I think I've only watched 2 reactions so far. Just, again, vacation, don't have time. So I don't know what non-book readers are picking up on, but she very clearly lies here. Like, she is saying, oh, I don't know where they are, and then she says they've gone on a vacation or a trip. That did not happen. And there's no way she could even have believed that it happened, because it didn't. Like, she would know. But then the next scene, we know, they mention, like Varen here mentions, could this notation have been written under a weave of compulsion? And so anybody who thought that perhaps Sheriam here was lying then would have that belief undermined by this introduction of compulsion. It also just delighted me that Varen was the first person to mention compulsion, because, I mean, it's compulsion light, but she does use it. And so it's, I don't know, this scene it was delicious. It was just like, give it to me. This is all the clues, all the hints, the things that I am not somebody who ever theorized. Like, I love Varen so much. So I never suspected that she was a dark friend. And I know I didn't pick up on anything with Sherry, not because, how do I say, I liked her, but I didn't care about her all that much. So I didn't really pick up on it. So yeah, I don't know. I really, really enjoyed this scene. It was juicy. It was a juicy, juicy scene. Okay, so this jumped out at me. they're not writing in English. I expected them to be writing in English, and I kind of want to learn this alphabet, like if it's possible to learn. Because usually a written language matches a spoken language. I mean, they're not necessarily speaking in English. They're speaking in Common or whatever. I don't know. But usually a written language matches a spoken language. Like I live in Korea, for example. Korean is a very syllabic language. And so when you look at the way Korean is written, every syllable is in its own block. So it matches the way the Korean is spoken. I don't know. Is this an alphabet that we can learn? It's kind of cool. That's all. It just struck me as interesting. I also really like her monocle. I like that she's wearing that around her neck. That's cool. I hadn't thought of this. Like, I knew that she was, that Leandrin was going to be betraying the girls, but I hadn't put it together that Leandrin would hate this. Leandrin would hate what the Shan-Chan do. Like, she, as I mentioned before, she's all about protecting women. So the idea of handing women over to be slaves. This is show Leandrin. Book Leandrin is not like this. Book Leandrin has no personality at all except just unpleasant. So show Leandrin, she cares about women. And so this just struck me as really interesting. And I love the nuance they're giving to her. It makes her a more interesting and a more compelling villain. I really, really like it. And then we get this exchange, like, perhaps I'll be the one to put the collar around your lovely throat, and I'll remind you of it when you kneel to me. This interaction directly from the books. So they start us off with something nuanced and different, and then they bring us like right back into the books, and it's beautiful. I love it. And then she frees Nynaeve, and it's, again, she is so nuanced. It's great. I can see her doing this. This is something that the Forsaken do, and in the books anyway, the Forsaken, again, just people with their own motivations, which even comes up with these immortal Forsaken. But she has her own motivations, and they are different than the Shan-Chan's motivations. So even though they're on the same team, she doesn't want them to win, because she doesn't like if they win, what the world would look like for women who can channel. So she is trying to undermine them. And this happens again with the Forsaken. We see it all the time, where they are working against each other, even though they are all working for the Dark One. So I liked this. This was great. This, on the other hand, this underwhelming is the word I would say. Like, it was fine. I don't know what I was expecting. Like, in the books, it's really, really chaotic. Nynaeve goes ham, but she goes ham off screen. Like, we don't actually see it. We just see lightning bolts, and we are assuming that that's Nynaeve, and we see dead bodies that we assume Nynaeve unalived. And, but this just, it felt like, okay, run away, and then, oh, whoops, we lost somebody. Like, it was very quick and very, it looked like from the trailers, I thought that we were going to see some awesome stuff, and then all of the awesome stuff had been in the trailers. So we didn't see anything new, which, fine, you don't have to see anything new, but we also didn't see anything. Like, and even the running away, like, this is it. Like, I've shown pretty much the entire scene. They ran for like 5 seconds, and now they're here, and the Shan-Chan didn't chase them? Like, that's it. That's the entire scene. Like, that's it. They just ran for 5 seconds. They aren't very far away. They didn't show enough a collage of, what do you call it? A montage of different running so that we could imagine that they ran far. So the fact that nobody comes after them into this clearing doesn't make any sense. And there were more Damane, so they could have caught the other, like, this is my low point from this episode of just like, come on. They could have been caught very easily. And also, go ham, Nynaeve. Go ham. Like, lightning. Let's go. Let's do it. And then we get this introduction to Aiel culture. She mentions Jiatou. She talks about the threefold land and, like, the reason for the naming of the threefold land. I really enjoyed this. Again, the world is getting larger. It's becoming wider here. I also just really liked her whole Jiatou. You don't know about Jiatou? Because, again, that's the thing that the Aiel do, especially the first Aiel that we meet, who are all, how do you not understand about everything about our culture, from us who live on the other side of the spine of the world and never interact with you? And how do you not know everything about first? Like, they're a little bit arrogant in the way that they assume that their way is the right way, and they assume that other people should know about their own culture, even though they're the most isolated in the Westlands anyway. So I don't know. I really like this. But she's so likable. Like, this exchange is great. It's, everything about Aviendha works for me. It just really, really works for me. Okay, we have here Nynaeve and Elaine, and it's, this is one of my favorite friendships in the books. They are not friends in the show yet. I don't even think they really met know each other. Nynaeve actually says, like, I don't even know you at this point, which kind of cracks me up because Egwene says that earlier. She's like, go away, I don't even know you. In a different in episode 3, she says that when she thinks Nynaeve is dead. So that's funny that Elaine keeps having that thrown in her face, that people don't know her. But I'm hoping that we get to see the building of their friendships, just because I think they're such a great odd couple. Like, you know, we have the wisdom from a small village and the daughter heir. They work really well together. And I think they balance each other really well. So I'm having high hopes. Like, this is obviously an antagonistic beginning. Nynaeve is being hard-headed, and I don't know how she doesn't understand about the dresses. But again, that does feel like Nynaeve. Nynaeve does not think long-term. Nynaeve thinks now. I must save her now. Like, that is Nynaeve. So I like the way this works. But yeah, it's an antagonistic beginning. So but I'm having high hopes. I want to see this friendship develop because, like I said, it's one of my favorites. And then we get, look at this, yet another head trauma for our girls. And I'm going to assume that, like, he knows his Aes Sedai's Yellow Aja and that she can heal them, because this is their second head trauma in as many days. Maybe Leandrin healed them on the ways as well, because it's a lot of head trauma. Especially, like, it's a running joke in the books, at least in certain quarters of the fandom, that Elaine just is constantly getting closed brain injuries. Like, it's just a constant thing. So she's very lucky she's traveling with people who know how to heal her. It just made me laugh. Speaking of things that made me laugh, this, like, Leandrin trying to casually lean, like, I wasn't just skulking and sneaking back into the tower. Like, what? This is the least casual lean of all time. I loved it. I loved it. And then we get this exchange where she, like, jumps on the whole, okay, so they've been captured by bandits. Like, a royal convoy or envoy on the way to Camelin was captured. This kind of amused me because it's badly done. Like, it's a very neat story. The story is well crafted. It would work. But it made me laugh because Kate Fleetwood is such an amazing actor. Like, she's doing such amazing things with Leandrin. Leandrin is not. Leandrin anticipates this way too quickly. Like, there should have been a couple of beats there, a moment, maybe taking a little bit longer to make this connection. But she's like, oh, okay, I got to put my story in. And she does it too quickly. And I really liked that touch of just Kate Fleetwood, amazing actor. Leandrin, I have some notes. Okay, so here, Ishii says 3,000 years and they're still bashing about with swords and wine and queens and whatever. And, like, I think even in my reaction I said this, because that's Ishii's fault in the books. In the books, Ishii comes out every 1,000 years and basically bashes everything back into the Stone Age. He's waiting for the dragon to come so that he can break the wheel, and he needs the world to be in a less advanced state, basically, for him to be able to control it better. That's his whole thing. I don't know if they're doing that in the show. However, then, like, a couple of minutes later, he says this, like, Lanfear says, you're getting better in the dream world. And he says, I've had nothing if not time. So I'm not sure what the show is doing here. I'm not sure if the show is having him come out or if it's having him having been awake this whole time and maybe just living in the dream world. Or I don't know. I don't know exactly what they're doing. And I'm curious to see. Like, I'm reserving judgment on it. I think that they'll probably do something clever with it, but I don't know. I literally have no guesses here. We also get this, like, forsaken name drop here of Megiddian Insane, Grendel's a vain idiot, and then the boys, which is true. The boys, for the most part, not very competent. I don't know. There's no mention of Semirhage. And as I said, I saw some stuff that Lanfear did that did remind me of Semirhage. Not entirely, because, like, with that lip thing, Semirhage would have stayed to watch. Like, she wouldn't have just done that and then run away, because Semirhage enjoys that. So, but it's possible that Semi is going to be in the show and Lanfear's not mentioning her because she doesn't have anything negative to say about her. She might be scared of her. I don't know. But, yeah, that was my main thought during this, like, running of names here is, oh, no Semi. Because Semi's one that I wouldn't imagine cutting because she's just so terrifying. Gotta thank Pez again for noticing things like this. Okay, so look here at Lanfear's collar, and then look at Rand's. It's the same. She's made this world of dreams, or, well, did Ishii make Rand in this? I'm pretty sure that Lanfear has crafted this whole space, and she has crafted Rand to mirror her. Of course she has. This introduction of Rima kind of broke my heart. Like, again, I do think that she healed them of their head trauma, but, Rima, she does. Like, I checked it. She is one of the Aes Sedai who gets captured by the Shan Chan. And so having her actually help them, ugh, my heart is breaking for her already, just seeing her here. Like, oh, Brima, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is just something I noticed. The Shanshan, okay, awful what they're doing here, but look what they've done to her hair. They've braided it. The last time she was captured, her hair was in a braid, and the White Cloaks unbraided it. This time, her hair was unbraided, and the Shanshan have braided it. Like, she's just constantly having just her autonomy about, like, obviously her entire autonomy here is going to be changed, but this is a very visual way of showing it, and it's going to be brutal to watch this. Okay, this collar is different. I think it looks very cool and it's magical and that works for this visual medium, but it does make me wonder about some things later on. Like, okay, in The Great Hunt, Nynaeve is able to open the collar with channeling, but in later books, Matt is able to open it with just his hands. And so I don't know what they're going to do with that. Like, I don't have any theories. There might be a way to open it with your hands. Not that the Shanshan would want that. Like, they would not have made it that way or with that in mind. But I don't know. Like, maybe the medallion that Matt has will somehow work. I don't know. What do you think? And then this shot. Okay. And I didn't mean to say that while we have shirtless Rand here, but this shot of Lanfear in her full goth queen outfit. Amazing. I knew this was Tel'aran'rhiod, like from the shot of him on the wheel. It had to be. This can't be real, right? I knew this had to at least be a dream, if not Tel'aran'rhiod. I will say, so in this episode, I've already said that Lanfear reminded me a little bit of Semi with that weird lip thing. Although again, Semi would have stayed to watch. This outfit, while okay, she has that moon themed headdress there. It reminded me of Megiddian. Like, I was looking like, oh, you kind of looked like the spider there. But I know that Megiddian's going to be in the show. So, I don't know. That's just a thought I had. Like I said, loosey-goosey. But yeah, okay. This is amazing. I love this episode. Alright, so those are my loosey-goosey book nerd thoughts on episode 5. How about you? What are your thoughts on this episode? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like my content and you want to support me, I do have a Patreon that is also linked in the description below. To my patrons, thank you so much for all of your support. It truly means the world to me. Could not do this without you. Thank you. And with that, I am gonna end this here, so please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!